शुरू. Welcome back. In this lecture, we will try to understand the next model of democracy, representative democracy. In the last lecture, we saw participatory model of democracy, which is oldest model. In this lecture, we will see representative democracy and how it functions. To understand representative democracy, just understand this word representative, right? Representative. Core word is representation. Representation. Let's let's imagine a hostel. Hostel, college hostel. College hostel has college hostel has 100 students living in it, and there is a issue that is going on. 100 students and 10 wings, right? Each wing has 10 students. There is a issue that is going on in college with respect to water supply, right? If if 100 students all at once 100 students all at once are are voting and participating in the issue with respect to water supply, then that is participatory democracy, right? All 100 of them are participating in issue of water supply, then it is participatory democracy, active participation of 100 students in the issue. Now in the same situation, if every wing, right, 10 wings are there, every wing elects one of its as the representative of that wing, right? So there will be 10 people, 10 people who are representatives will will represent their 10 students or their wing. And then if these 10 people discuss water supply, then this kind of democracy is representative democracy, right? This is the difference. Here all 100 students are discussing issue of water supply. Here only 10 students of 10 wings are discussing water supply. These 10 students are representative of these 100 students, one each wing, right? This is difference between participatory democracy, in which active participation of every citizen is there, and this is representative democracy, where there is participation of only the representatives, right? Only representatives. This is the difference. Representative democracy and participatory democracy. Representative democracy, not all people participate. People will elect their representative to represent them in a deliberative body, in a democratic body, right? What is the need of representation, right? Right? As we were discussing, right? As Churchill said that democracy is the best form of government, the worst form of government, and until we find something better, right? On these lines, he said that. Then then and we have seen participatory democracy is on face of it seems uh, on face of it seems really enticing as everyone is participating, right? Then what is the need of representation or representative democracy, right? If participatory democracy works really well, right? People are participating, and people are making laws which affect them on their own. What is the issue, right? We will go to the historical basis of it, right? Historically, we have seen Greek Greek political system was of city states, right? In city states, there was active participation of people, right? As we have seen in Aristotle theory of citizenship, right? So Greek, which were city states, right? Athens was a small city, Sparta was a small city, right? uh, I don't remember any other cities, but you get the gist of it, right? So city were small states in themselves. When citywide participation is there, right? Citywide participation is there. Not all, not much space is needed because a city might have 10,000 people, right? At max 1 lakh people. Participation of 1 lakh people still is not that very hard, right? Democracy. Now imagine a situation. Now imagine a situation where there is a nation. I will take example of the one of the smallest nation in the world. Let's just say uh, uh, Liechtenstein, right? Liechtenstein is a small country. I don't know its population. I don't know how much its population is, but I assume it to be around 50 lakhs. Right? I assume it around to be 50 lakhs. So in Liechtenstein, which is a small nation comparatively, do you think active participation of people can be possible? Is it possible? Right? In city state where there are 1 lakh people, you can gather them in, let's say, Colosseum, in a big stadium, right? And you just can ask that, is this law valid? If most of the people say yes, then the law pass. Otherwise, law does not pass. Procedure can be very easy. If around 50 lakh people are there, active participation cannot be possible, right? Cannot be possible because the size of society is so big that there cannot be active participation. That is why representative democracy came into place. How this happened, how this evolution happened was like this. Democracy was participatory in the start. Democracy was participatory, and democracy we can visualize from Aristotle theory of citizenship. To be citizen and to be free man is the one and the same thing. This is the first step in evolution. Right? We'll start from here. The next step is this change to this change to feudalism. Right? Roman Empire came into being. Right? And for to control Roman Empire, there was need of feudals. And in Roman Empire, democracy vanished. Democracy vanished. Right? In Roman Empire, which basically encompassed whole of the Mediterranean Sea, right? Whatever borders which Mediterranean Sea had were engrossed by Roman Empire. So that how big that empire was, you can imagine, right? So Roman Empire, democracy vanished because size of empire was so big. Roman Empire then disintegrated. Right. There is a lot of history that goes behind it. After Roman Empire, there was Byzantines and there was all those people. But fast forward to let's say 1800s, 1700s. There was disintegration of all empires, all empires of Roman Empire in the Europe, and there was emergence of nation states like nation states like France, right? Frank Frank Empire gave way for France. Germanic or Prussian Empire gave way for Germany, right? In England, while the king continued, England changed to democracy or changed to parliamentary form of government, right? So when nation states disintegrated, right, they were still not so small entity that active participation can be possible, right? They were not so small that active participation can be possible. In this situation where there are nation states and active participation is not possible, what solution for democracy was given? It was representative democracy. As as modern life became complex and size of society became enormous, right? What do I mean by modern life became complex? That the issues which modern life had were not so simple, right? Wars wars were happening, rapid industrialization was happening, right? Society was rapidly. In this situation you cannot be stuck to participation of people. You need representatives which are experts, which are highly emotionally intelligent, and which will conduct 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 government in keeping people in mind, right? So this is the idea. What is representative democracy? Why it came? Because modern life became complex and society was became enormous, right? Society became enormous, right? From where do I think representative democracy started, right? Some people will say it started with Aristotle theory of citizenship, because for Aristotle, authority of statesman and authority of head of household is two different authorities, right? So we can assume that a household can be represented by the head of the house, right? There can be that assumption as well, but but with certainty, I can I can presume the philosophical origin of representative democracy begin with Locke. Locke observes, and I quote, government is trust, people are trustees, right? Government is trust, people are trustees, right? What does this mean? What does this mean? This means one thing. Government will work like a trust, right? Government will work like a trust, and some of the people will take care of the trust on behalf of everyone else, right? On behalf of everyone else. To connect this idea, to connect this idea to the models of representative democracy, I will again start with Locke himself, right? I will again start with Locke himself, whereby Locke has observed that government is trust and people are trustees. Right? In a trust, decisions are taken by in democratic form, and government is like a trust, whereby elected representatives will act as trustees of this government. Right? Locke himself gave one of the models of representative democracy, right? And we will try to understand two models of representative democracy next. Two models of representative democracy. What are two models of representative democracy? Right? The first model is protective model. First model is protective model. Right? Protective model. Protective model, and if it is protective model, what it will protect? Right? Protective model assumes democracy to be a form of government which protects rights of its citizens. Protect what? Rights. As I was explaining, we'll start with protective model of representative democracy. Right? What does protective model tries to protect? Rights of citizens. Right? Protective model is for protection of rights of citizens, of which first model within protective model was given by Locke, which is delegate model of protective representative democracy. Right? Delegate model of protective representative democracy. So what Locke talks about is delegation. Delegation, and delegation to whom? Delegation to representatives. Delegation of what? Delegation of legislation, execution, and adjudication. Right? Delegation of these three functions of legislation, execution, and adjudication. Right? What Locke says that when in Parliament, MPs do not have choice of their own, and they have to act as per their constituencies. So you can quote here: government is trust and people are trustees. Right? The second model of protective model was given by Bentham in uh, majoritarian model. So what he says, that what majoritarian model basically says, that only a person knows what is best for him. Right? What is role of state? Role of state is to aggregate individual preferences. Basically, greatest happiness of greatest number. Aggregate aggregate pleasure and pain of all the people and build public policy on that. Right? Build public policy on that. One is delegate model, other is majoritarian model. Right? One talks about trusteeship and other talks about aggregation of of individual preferences. Individual preferences. One talks about representation of a constituency, uh, other talks about representation of people. Right? So what is the difference between them? Right? Both tries to do same thing. Both tries to do same thing, that gathering interest of people, gathering preferences of people. Right? Both do the same thing. But the fundamental difference between them is that one assumes state to be a trust, second assume state to be just aggregator of preferences. Right? So Locke assumes state to be a trust, and Bentham assumes state to be only aggregator of preferences. Right? Only aggregator of preferences. If I have to write, if I have to give you an example which to think of, right? Let's say, let's say there are 100 students, right? Again, going back to what you that hostel example. 100 student issue with water supply. They elect 10 representatives, right? 10 wings elect 10 representatives. 10 wings elect 10 representatives. These 10 representatives will act as trustees on behalf of their on behalf of their wings, and will act accordingly, that the decisions which are going to take, right, the decision which will be taken will reflect choices of their wings, right, will reflect choices of their wings, right. Here we are talking about wing, right. 10 student in every wing, 10 student in every wing. What this representative will do is basically take a poll here. Six people are in favor of some decision, four are not. So this representative will go ahead with this decision, nothing else. Right? In majoritarian model, what happens that 100 people, 10 wings. Again, we choose 10. Again, we choose 10 representatives. In majoritarian model, in majoritarian model, 10 students of a wing will take part in poll. Let's say 4 are in favor of 6 are in favor of some decision, 4 are not. Then this will be taken account by their representatives. The same process will repeat 10 times, and yes and no's will be added. Right? This This is majoritarian model, that every preference is taken into account by their representative, and that then all representative will tally the net, right. This is the difference, right. People in 10 wings, I elect one representative. People will have trust on this representative to take decision in their favor. In majoritarian model, what happens that people don't have trust per se on this representative. People will put some faith in this representative, that this representative will keep in mind the individual references of these 10 people, that 4 are saying yes, 4 are saying no, 6 are saying yes. And like this, all 10 representative will keep a tally, and in last summation will be done, and on basis of this summation, decision will be taken. Right? Let's say 40 people are in favor, 60 are in not, so this decision will be taken. Right? I hope you understood the trustee model and majoritarian model. In trustee model, representative are trusted to take decision which will be in most favor of the wing. right? Whatever that decision is, whatever that decision is, it is binded to all, right? It is expected that the trustee will or the representative will act according to the will of the wing, right? It is assumed in majoritarian model, trustee just keep or no representative just keeps the tally of the votes, right? This is the difference. And states only role is to aggregate preferences. States only role is aggregate preferences. So this is difference, or this is protective model, of which two we have seen: trusteeship and GHGN, delegate and majoritarian, right? Both are similar, but the procedure is different, right? In one, procedure is trusteeship or trust. In second, procedure is majority or greatest happiness of greatest number. So this was first model of representative democracy, which is protective model, right? The second model we have to see of representative democracy, which is developmental model. Developmental model, right? Developmental model. In developmental model, in developmental model, we will understand view of Mill, views of Mill, right? What Mill says, what Mill says, or if you remember Mill in his book on liberty and on representative government, most important value for Mill is freedom of speech and expression, right? Even mad should be allowed to speak, right? Even mad should be allowed to speak according to Mill. So developmental model, or people like Mill value democracy because it protects freedom of speech and expression. Because according to Mill, democracy protects 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 liberty, right? Democracy protects liberty, and liberty will lead to development. Liberty will lead to development, right? Democracy will democracy protects liberty, and liberty will lead to development. So according to Mill, democracy is needed for, and democracy performs conducive environment for development of potentialities, right? Development of potentialities. So representative democracy's first model, what first model talks about, that it is for protection of rights, with very particularly political rights, very particularly political rights. And and uh, they see democracy as either trust or either aggregator, right? Developmental model goes back to Aristotelian tradition, and developmental model basically talks about conducive environment and development of potentialities, right? Right, developmental model, or development of potentialities. What Mill says, that democracy performs function of providing conducive environment for development of potentialities, right? Right. But issue with Mill, right? But issue with Mill, here we are finished with developmental model. Only this much is developmental model, right? I am just trying to make you recall what Mill has said about democracy, right? Mill in his book on representative government says that democracy is not needed in colonies, and for functioning democracy he also suggests proportional representation and weighted voting. What it means, right? I will This is not related. I am just trying to make you recall. This much is only developmental model, whereby conducive environment will be provided by democracy for development of potentialities, from to get to potentiality to actuality, for development of actuality, to fulfill teleology, right? Go to try to remember Aristotle, right? But what is the issue with Mill, right? If question comes, write criticism of developmental model of democracy, you will write issues with Mill. Issues with Mill, that he is reluctant democrat. Why Mill is reluctant democrat? Because number one, he he is not in favor of democracy in colonies, right? Democracy in colonies. He does not want democracy in colonies because for him, for barbarians, benevolent despotism is best, right? He suggests weighted voting and proportional representation, right? Proportional representation. Why does he suggest weighted voting and proportional representation? अरे यार, why does he suggest weighted voting and proportional representation? Because because he wants democracy to function, right? He thinks that if illiterate masses are going to infiltrate democracy, then he thinks that it may lead to decline of democracy, right? Democracy cannot function according to Mill if democracy leads to participation of a lot of masses, because masses are, according to Mill, dumb, right? Masses, for according to Mill, are dumb. So that is the idea. So weighted voting basically means that if you have property, you have more weight to your vote. Your vote is more valuable. If I am graduate, value of my vote is 2. If someone is 10th pass, value of his vote is 0.5, right? This is what weighted voting means. Proportional representation is again the same thing, right? So this is the idea. This is we are going to write in criticism, right? But I hope you understood the main agenda of this lecture, which is to understand two models of representative democracy, of which first is protective of there are two branches. First is trusteeship model or delegate model. Second is GHGN, majoritarian model, as given by Bentham, right? And second model is developmental model, of which Mill talks about democracy as providing conducive environment to fulfill potentialities, to give liberty, to give freedom of speech and expression, so that people will actualize their potentialities, right? That is the idea. In criticism, you are going to write Mill is a reluctant democrat, right? Now we have to see. Now we have to see some basic assumptions of representative democracy. Basic assumptions of representative democracy. The first basic assumption is that it is very procedural, right? It talks about elections and it talks about representation, right? It does not talk about active participation of people, right? Representative democracy also has this inherent bias towards masses, right? Representative democracy has lack of trust towards capability of masses, right? Uh, here you can give reference to Edmund Burke, right? Edmund Burke edmund burke do not support delegate model of representation, right? What is delegate model of representation? That that mps should follow instruction of its constituency, right? And Burke says that parliament is not assembly of constituency, but it is assembly of nationwide issues are taken, right? So so decisions of MPs affect the nation. Decision of MPs is beyond their constituency, right? So what are basic assumption of representative democracy? That procedural element is very strong, elections element is very strong, elections element is very strong. There is general lack of trust towards cabinet, right? That is why all of representative democracy scholars will keep role of masses limited, right? Only to election, only till aggregation of everything will be done by parliament, right? Distrust this distrust toward capability of masses was further exemplified by Edmund Burke, who talks about delegate model is wrong. For him, delegate model is wrong. According to delegate model, what is democracy? Democracy is nothing but, or parliamentarians have to work as per their constituencies, have to work as per decisions of MPs is beyond their constituencies. Parliament is assembly of nation, right? The third assumption is that representative democracy model is based on elitist or pluralist school of of democracy or power, right? It is based on elitist or pluralist school of democracy or power. We'll start with elitist school of power, or elitist theory of power, right? Before that, I can explain you one more thing, right? What are the three basic assumptions? That there is strong procedural element, in representative democracy. Scholars of representative democracy have general lack of trust towards capability of masses, right? Where you can give reference of Edmund Burke. Edmund Burke do not like delegate model. For him, parliament is assembly of nations, and decisions or MPs is beyond constituencies, right? And we can also say that representative democracy is based on elitist or pluralist school of democracy and power. What is elitist and pluralist school of democracy and power? We will see, right? Before that, we have to see what do I mean by uh, distrust towards delegate model, right? Delegate distrust towards delegate model, I will explain through models of representation. Models of representation, we were seeing models of representative democracy. Now we'll see models of representation, how models will happen, how representation will happen. So there are two models of representation: trustee model and delegate model, right? Do not mix it up with models of representative democracy. In models of representative democracy, we saw two models: protective and developmental. They are types of representative democracy. Now we are seeing how representation is going to happen, right? Before we have seen what is the uh, work of elected MPs in a democracy. In models of representation, we are seeing how they will be elected, not per se how they will be elected, but but what is the effective role, what is their effective role, right? Or in representation what they are going to do, right? So trustee model of representation, not representative democracy, right? Trustee model of representation talks about that representative is self-reliant, if is self-reliant, can take his own decision. Delegate model of Locke of Mill talk about that delegates must follow will of its constituency, or MPs must follow will of will of its constituencies, right? This was given by Edmund Burke and this is given by Mill. What is the difference, right? I will make you understand with an example. So let's say MPs are MPs of nations, MPs are MPs of parliament, not of constituencies. What does it mean? Uh, there is a decision which is being taken on defense of India or foreign affairs of India, right? Or nuclear power, right? Nuclear power. I will explain the difference between trustee model and delegate model with a example of nuclear power, right? Nuclear power in let's say in on banks of Ganga river, right? On banks of Ganga river. So I am an MP from Varanasi district, not Varanasi. I will get bashed for it. Another city on banks of Ganga, let's say Agra. Agra is on Yamuna. So Yamuna, we'll start with Yamuna. So nuclear power plant on banks of Yamuna river. I am an MP from Agra, right? Nuclear power plant on banks of Yamuna river. I am an MP from Agra. Now my constituency think that nuclear power plant will pollute will pollute the Yamuna river, will be bad for agriculture, will be bad for their health. This is what constituency will think, right? This is what people of Agra will think, right? If we go by delegate model, the MP from Agra should follow will of people of Agra who say that nuclear power plant should not be set up, right? Should not be set up. But if we go by Burke's model, trustee model, the MP should go for nuclear power plant. The MP should say yes to nuclear power plant. Why? Because nuclear power plant is good for the nation. This is the difference, right? This is the difference. In trustee model, you do whatever it is good for the nation. In delegate model, you just follow will of your constituencies, right? Will of your constituents, will of your people. This is the difference, right? To explain this more, Burke says Burke says that one one is not member of their constituency, one is member of parliament, right? And one should see issues from a bird's eye view. One should view issues from 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 a bigger picture, right? It is not just the constituencies they represent, MPs represent. It is the nation they represent. It is the parliament they represent. So decisions had to be taken or have to be taken in favor of nation, not in favor of constituency. But delegate models say that that the representative should follow will of constituency. Why? Because if a MP is not member, is not a representation of people, then what is the point of MP? Right? What is the point of MP? So MP should follow will of its constituents and will of its people. That is the idea behind models of representation, which are two, trustee and delegate. Right? So so in simple terms, if I have to explain, right, I will make a small flow chart or small tree diagram so that it is if you are able to understand. Representative democracy, RepDem, has two models. First model is protective, second model is developmental. Protective model has two submodels. First is delegate. This delegate model is of deliberative democracy, not of representation, right? Not of representation. The second model is majoritarian. Delegate model works on trusteeship. Majoritarian model works on aggregation of interest or aggregation of preferences. Developmental model works on developmental model was given by Mill, and he suggests democracy is conducive environment for development of potentialities. Right? Go back to Aristotle. Right? Democracy will act as conducive environment for protection of actualities. Then separate tree diagram is there. Separate tree diagram is there. Modes of representation, not models of democracy, but modes of representation. There are two modes of representation. First is trustee mode, and second is delegate mode. Trustee mode sees Trustee mode sees representatives are as representatives of parliament, and delegate mode sees MPs as MPs of their constituencies. So this is the difference. Do not mix to these two. And yeah, I hope this helped. From the next lecture, we'll start with philosophical basis of representative democracy in form of elitist theory of power or elitist theory of democracy. Thank you so much. I hope this helped. We'll continue from the next lecture.